Hello, 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 and welcome to the channel. My name is Kelly, and this is Kelly's Wordy Reactions. Let's see. Hold on just a second. And I just have to set my parameters. You know, for those of you that don't know, you can only set certain things when you can only set certain parameters after you go live. I don't know why they make it that way. Yeah, I don't know why they do it that way, but that's how they do it. Let me see. Okay. Okay. All right. So this is going to be another installment of Politics Today. And hello, if you came in, thank you so much for stopping in. So this is going to be another installment of my Politics Today talks. I'm going to read this article. I was actually excited when I saw this just a few minutes ago. It is referring to Donald Trump trying to tell many, I don't know if it's all of them, it seems like he wants to lay off all of the whole federal government. But so there was this buyout deal that he had put into the works. And basically, I think it was something like he was going to be paying people through September for them to resign. And so a judge has now put a halt to that. And so let's get into the article because I don't have much information about the judgment at this point. So I'm going to read the article. So, and I'm pulling this from MSN News. It says Trump's buyout offer for federal workers paused by judge hours before deadline. Okay, so paused, that doesn't mean completely stopped. Okay. A federal judge on Thursday paused the Trump administration's deadline for more than 2 million federal employees to decide by the end of the day whether to resign or stay in their jobs in order to allow time for labor unions to challenge the plan's legality. Okay. And it says U.S. District Judge George O'Toole in Boston issued a temporary restraining order and set a hearing for Monday. The Trump administration's lawyers had argued that extending the deadline on the very last day would markedly disrupt the expectations of the federal workforce, as if everybody just wants to quit their job. Wow. Okay, I'm sorry. Inject tremendous uncertainty into a program that scores of federal employees have already availed themselves of, and hinder the administration's efforts to reform the federal workforce. All right. Unions representing many of the nation's federal workers charge that the new Republican administration's unprecedented offer violates the law. Finally, um, somebody is actually standing up for what the law is. Okay, we will continue to aggressively defend our members' rights, said Everett Kelly, president of the American Federation of Government Employees, one of the unions challenging the offer. Workers were given barely more than a week to accept the administration's blanket buyout, which union officials say did not appear to have followed federal procedures for reducing the size of the workforce. Federal employees were told they would receive 8 months of pay and benefits through September if they resign by February 6th. But Congress hasn't approved funding for federal agencies past March 14th. Unions have warned workers considering Trump's offer that there's no guarantee the president can or will stick to it. They've also said the offer lacks basic information about whether they might still be required to work for the government, whether they can get a private sector job while still being paid by the federal government, and how their pensions, health insurance, and other benefits and rights would be affected. Critics have said the administration's goal is to make working for the federal government so unpleasant that employees will be driven out. Wow. The administration on Tuesday warned federal employees could be furloughed if they do not accept the buyout, and that the majority of federal agencies will be downsized, with the Defense Department as an exception. Federal workers who stay in their jobs have been told they must return to in person work, embrace new performance standards, and be reliable, loyal, and trustworthy in their work, among other new reforms across the government. Oh my goodness. Trump is pushing both to dramatically shrink the size of the government and replace bureaucrats his team has perceived as hostile to his agenda with loyalists. About 40,000 federal workers had accepted the offer as of Thursday morning, according to is that Reuters. That represents about 2% of the workforce, below a goal of 5% to 10% the White House has targeted. All right, and that's the end of the article. So, very interesting points brought up here. So, this is really good that they do have a labor union. And where's that piece about the labor union? So, basically, this labor union has said, okay, there's no information about anything. There's no information about anything past here you go. We're going to pay you up till September. And like they said, the unions have warned workers considering Trump's offer that there's no guarantee the president can or will stick to, like, where is he going to get this money from if they only have approved through March 14th to pay people, I guess people that are laid off. Let's see. Congress hasn't approved funding for federal agencies past March 14th. Oh, I think they're saying Congress in general hasn't approved the funding for federal. So I guess they approve it every year, or I don't know how they approve those salaries or whatever. But so it hasn't even been approved in general. And then the unions are saying they've also said the offer lacks basic information about whether they might still be required to work for the government, whether they can get a private sector job while still being paid. What about their pensions? What about their health insurance? And what about other benefits and rights that they have? So anyway, it's really I think it's really good. Yeah, I think it's really good that at least a federal judge has paused this and it can't go through as of right now. So even though they've accepted these offers, there's been a halt put to it, at least temporarily. So some good news, right? Let's see if there's anybody in the chat. Okay, doesn't look like anybody is in the chat, which is fine. I just wanted to be stopping in periodically and dropping some some political news. Um, and so, like I said, we can just, stay up to date. There's the funny thing is, there's so much going on. It's just it's so many things going on in so many different directions. Um, the whole Gaza situation. This president has offered to, I don't know if he offered to do it or if he just basically made a deal with the president over there to take over their land, move the people out, not let them come back. Oh my goodness. I need to get that story up. Where is that story? Let's see. Where is the story about the Gaza Strip? Hello, if you're coming in, I'm reading, so I'm not really looking at the chat. Um Trying to see any news related to the Gaza Strip situation that so a lot of the news media is saying that basically he's proposed ethnic cleansing. He proposed ethnic cleansing, and whoever he was talking to tried to clean it up for him, but it was a mess. Okay, so and they have a war-torn environment, so they're a little vulnerable right now, I would say. Okay, so this story was as of an hour ago. Trump's Gaza plan shocks the world but finds support in Israel. Okay, Tel Aviv, Israel, Associated Press. President Donald Trump's plan to seek U.S. ownership of the Gaza Strip and move out its population infuriated the Arab world. It stunned American allies and other global powers, and even flummoxed members of Trump's own party. The reaction in Israel was starkly different. The idea of removing hundreds of thousands of Palestinians from Gaza, once relegated to the fringes of political discourse in the country, has found fertile ground in an Israeli public traumatized by Hamas. October 7, 2023, attacks and grasping for ways to feel secure again after the deadliest assault in their country's history. Jewish Israeli politicians across the spectrum either embraced the idea wholeheartedly or expressed openness to it. Newspaper columns praised its audacity, and TV commentators debated how the idea could practically be set in motion. The country's defense minister ordered the military to plan for its eventual implementation. Whether or not the plan becomes reality, it is saddled with obstacles, not to mention moral, legal, and practical implications. Its mere pronouncement by the world's most powerful leader has sparked enthusiasm about an idea once considered to be beyond the pale in the Israel mainstream. The fact that it has been laid on the table, said Israeli historian Tom Segev, opens the door for such a clear crime to become legitimate. Wow. To be sure, many of those who expressed openness to the plan said it seemed unfeasible for a multitude of legal and logistical reasons, and many others, including liberal Israelis and Palestinian citizens of Israel, voiced opposition to it. The liberal daily Haaretz, in an editorial Thursday, urged Israelis to oppose transfer. Even if Trump disregards international law, it's crucial to remind Israelis that the forced expulsion or transfer of civilians violates international humanitarian law, constitutes a war crime, and amounts to a crime against humanity, the editorial says. In a joint Washington news conference with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu on Tuesday, Trump said he envisioned the U.S. taking control of the Gaza Strip, having its people relocate. I'm sorry, having its people relocate to other places and rebuilding the war battered coastal enclave into the Riviera in the Middle East. The proposal sparked outrage in the Middle East, including in Egypt and Jordan, two close U.S. allies at peace with Israel that, no, two, okay, TWO. Oh, okay, Egypt and Jordan, two close U.S. allies at peace with Israel that Trump has suggested take in the Palestinians. I don't know how this sentence is put together. I know I didn't get that right. But basically, this proposal sparked outrage in the Middle East, including in Egypt and Jordan. All right, Netanyahu, meanwhile, called Trump's plan remarkable and the first good idea that he has heard. Oh my gosh. The actual idea of allowing first Gazans who want to leave to leave. I mean, what's wrong with that? Netanyahu told Fox News. Israeli Defense Minister Israel Katz took it a step further, asking the military to craft a plan for a potential exodus. Katz has given few details on how such a plan would work. Even Netanyahu rivals indicated openness. Oh, even Netanyahu's rivals indicated openness to the idea. Okay. Benny Gantz, a former defense minister and centrist opposition figure, said Trump's proposal showed creative, original, and intriguing thinking. Opposition leader Yair Lapid, also a centrist, told Israeli army radio, in general, it's good. Both said the details and practicability of the plan were complicated and needed to be studied, and they urged Trump and Netanyahu to focus on freeing the hostages who remain in Gaza. For Palestinians, Trump's proclamation triggered painful memories of the expulsion or flight from their homes in what is now in the Israel in the 1948 war that led to its creation. It also resurfaced the trauma of further displacement wrought by the 1967 Mideast War, when Israel occupied the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. Staying steadfast on their land is a key component of the Palestinian identity. In fact, refu- many Palestinian refugees dream of returning to the lands in Israel from which they were originally displaced. Something Israel says would threaten its existence as a Jewish majority state. Segev said, the concept of driving people off their land is not foreign to the Israeli consciousness. He says Israel's founding leaders felt they needed to clear Palestinians off the land to ensure the security and stability of the state. But in modern Israel, the idea has been promoted only by fringe elements, most prominently the slain radical Rabbi Meir Kahane. The American born Kahane's views got him banished from the Israeli parliament and led the U.S. to outlaw his group, the Jewish Defense League. Now, however, Kahane's once radical positions are the mainstay of far right political parties, including one led by a disciple of his that has been key to Netanyahu's rule. They were thrilled to have someone as powerful as Trump adopt their idea, which they have billed as voluntary immigration. Trump's backing will likely embolden them. Wow. When Hamas attacked on October 7th, Israelis were already in a year long shift away from support from Palestinian statehood, and many had adopted an approach promoted by Netanyahu that the conflict was unsolvable and could only be managed through sporadic wars and military operations. The shock of Hamas attack, militants killed 1,200 and took about 250 hostages, parading some through Gaza to cheering crowds, brought the Palestinian issue back to the fore and prompted in Israelis an openness to more radical ideas as long as they help restore a sense of security. Sefi Ovadia, a broadcaster on a popular Israeli talk radio morning show, told his audience Thursday that he had moral reservations to the idea before October 7th, but that since the attack, he no longer does. Ben Caspit, a widely read columnist, wrote in the Marav Daily that every Israeli, barring the most delusional ones on the outer reaches of the left, ought to welcome this initiative. Trauma from Hamas's attack has promoted many Israelis to believe that a way to end the Palestinian-Israeli conflict is to remove Gaza from the equation, said Shmuel Rosner, yeah, a senior fellow at the Jewish People Policy Institute, a Jewish think tank. It was a fringe idea in Israel before October 7th, and in some cases, it was an illegitimate idea, Rosner said of Trump's plan. October 7th changed everything. And that is the end of that article. So I found both of these articles on MSN News. This one about Donald Trump planning to take over the Gaza Strip, and as well as a judge halting the federal workers buyout. Hello, Nesto Shackle Shuffle Walk Shame. How you doing today? Thank you for stopping in. So yeah. So this is this is part of our political news today, and and I'm just following as closely as I can to see, what is going on. I've been trying to figure out like why in the world um, is not someone able to stop Elon Musk from being in our Treasury Department. I even thought, after all this is over, like, shouldn't private citizens be able to potentially sue him for accessing our information without our consent? Like, I never really thought too much about the US Treasury, but all of our governmental departments, you just automatically assume that they're as safe and secure as they can be, and that they're keeping up with technology to keep everything as safe and secure as possible. So never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined Elon Musk just running ramshod with a bunch of young people through our U.S. Treasury Department, which is what is currently happening. And you said, I'm sorry, let me get this down from here. My phone is getting so hot. It is so hot outside. Okay, I'm good and I hope you're well. Yes, I'm doing very well. I'm doing pretty good today. Trying to keep myself from being too upset about the political climate. I guess maybe I guess maybe that's good and bad, 'cause you have to be interested, but it's so much. It's so much all at one time. But all in all, I'm fine. And thank you everybody that stopped by. At first I had a title up here, and then I went to my tablet to try to bring up the news, and I went back to my phone, and then everything had closed out. So I know there's no title up here, but this is my today's installment of my political news today that I'm going to be trying to keep up with. I would have been in here last night. It is very concerning. It's very, like, I could barely work. I could barely work. I'm like, what's going on now? What's going on now? I'll be listening to something on my phone, and then I'll tap into the news and I'm like, what's going on now? It's like every second something else is going on. Something wild and crazy, not just your regular, oh, whatever it is going on regularly. This is like some type of terrible action movie in real life. But yeah, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I went to work out last night, and so then I didn't get a chance to do my installment. And then I see that there's some. What if I guess we've had two Nesto calls here recently, but there was one today, and I don't know if y'all got a chance to listen to it, but if you didn't see it, phone calls from prison posted a new call just a little while ago, and at the end of the call, if you haven't heard it, listen to it. And if you did you notice at the end of the call? At the end of the call, Nesto said, who said it? I can't remember if it was Nesto or Sonia, but no, it was Nesto. He said he was talking to her on the phone when he was pulled over, or basically right before he got arrested, he was talking to her on the phone. So then that made me think, oh, no wonder she was so desperately looking for him, because it was like he was saying, now I don't know, because Nesto could always be lying, but it was like he was saying they were having a conversation, they were in the middle of the conversation, and then everything started happening with him being pulled over, and or if he was already out of the car. I'm still not clear on if he was out of the car or if he got pulled over, but he was talking to her right before it happened, is something like what he said, and then the call went off. So I don't know if he was saying he he was talking to her, like talking, like literally talking to her, or if she was like the last person that he was dealing with. I don't know. It could always be something weird when it comes to him. But yeah, if you haven't heard that call, hop over there and check it out. It's I couldn't hear all that well. Some of the conversation, Nesto, Dion, Sonia, it was, so it's definitely one you probably need to put on some earbuds or your headphones to work out everything that's being said. I'm sure it was definitely a lot of kind of like tidbits being dropped. But anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and get off of here. Thank y'all so much for stopping in. That's a little bit of our U.S. political news, and I'll be back with more. And I will see you all on the next one. Bye.